Hi, my name is Joseph Machta. I'm a paediatric gastroenterologist, formerly of Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, but currently of Sydney, Australia. Thank you very much for clicking to watch the audiovisual presentation of our clinical audit in fecal calprotectin measurement in paediatric IBD outpatient clinics. So, what is fecal calprotectin? I'm sure we all know, but it's a useful tool in monitoring inflammation in pediatric inflammatory bowel diseases. It has regulatory functions in inflammation, it provides antimicrobial and antifungal activity, and it's preserved in stools up to 3 days at room temperature and 1 week refrigerated. This is key information. In IBD, calprotectin represents a mucosal influx of inflammatory cells and increased disease activity. In Crohn's disease, it represents current inflammation, and in ulcerative colitis, calprotectin raised above baseline can indicate impending relapse. Now, so we wanted to study calprotectin to understand how frequently we were measuring it in our patients with pediatric IBD. And why? Because BSPGHAN advised the measurement of fecal calprotectin at least every 6 months during follow-up in pediatric IBD. ECHO BSPGHAN guidelines in Crohn's disease advise that a decrease of fecal calprotectin in the context of clinical improvement can be used as a marker of treatment response. And UC guidance states that fecal calprotectin should be obtained while in sustained clinical remission, and endoscopic evaluation should be considered when calprotectin is high. Furthermore, and importantly, STRIDE 2 enshrines fecal calprotectin as an intermediate target for treatment in IBD management. So this is something we should be using to monitor and target towards we should be treating. So what did we do? We performed a retrospective chart review of calprotectin measurement rates in our IBD clinic in our London-based tertiary paediatric IBD service over a 6-month period. We obtained data on demographics, diagnosis, whether or not there was a documented plan to obtain a fecal calprotectin, and what the fecal calprotectin measurements were. Now, all patients who didn't have a confirmed IBD diagnosis at the time of the clinic contact were excluded because technically they don't have IBD, so we don't have the duty to monitor their calprotectin. We analysed data for duration between calprotectins and whether a patient had had a calprotectin measurement done associated with that clinic contact. So, what did we find? So there were a total of 385 clinic contacts, of which 218 were included for analysis, and those represented 176 unique patients. Just over half were male, just under half had Crohn's disease, another just under half had UC, and a small remainder, 5.7%, had inflammatory bowel disease unspecified. The median age was 14 years, range 11 to 15, quartile range, sorry, and the median duration of diagnosis was 2 years, in quartile range 0.9 to 4.2. Now, the full results are seen in the table below, but I'll go through some of them. Essentially, what we found was that only just under 40% had a calprotectin sample done for that clinic contact. Now, in patients with a diagnosis over a year, so these are patients in whom our requirement to get one every 6 months becomes then active, we actually did pretty well. So with just under 65% having at least 2 calprotectins measured. However, when you look at whether these calprotectins were done at least every 6 months, that number reduces to 26%. Now, the median interval between samples was 8 months. So it appears that that's probably because there are patients who are bringing more samples in frequently, so their frequency changes the overall number for the group. Looking at patients who had brought in at least 2 calprotectins, they were fairly evenly split between male and female. The median age was around 13 years old, and they were also fairly representative of the different diagnoses, Crohn's, UC, and IBDU. And the median duration of diagnosis was just under 2 years. Looking at patients, strikingly, with no calprotectins done whatsoever, we found that, again, median age was 13, similar split between Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, and the duration of diagnosis was 1.7 years median. That there are any patients who have not had a calprotectin done ever is something we were concerned about, wanted to target, and so we devised different ways to target that with different interventions. So firstly, we immediately made a modification to our clinic letter invitation to include a reminder to bring a stool sample in. We set up text message reminders the day before clinic to encourage patients to bring in stool samples. And if you remember, I mentioned in the introduction, there's a crucial bit about calprotectin is that it remains stable at room temperature for 3 days and refrigerated for up to a week. So we initiated patient-led postal stool samples as an innovation in our team. Now, stool obviously is a biological substance, so it needs to adhere to specific packaging, postage and packaging requirements. So that includes double wrapping, inclusion of an absorbent material in the packaging and a hard packaging on the outside. And so what we did was we obtained a grant from the trust, one of the trust bodies, to obtain hard packaging to give to patients in clinic with a special sticker with our address on it, so they could post in their own stool samples as and when they were ready, directly to the gastroenterology team, so that we know it's been obtained, and that reduces the risk of them not being able to bring one in during the clinic appointment. Now, that comes with its own costs, either to the patient or to the department, so it's not perfect, but it acts as a fail-safe when they haven't been able to bring one in themselves. And the fact that calprotectin is so stable at room temperature or in the cold temperatures of West London, it allows for accurate processing of their samples. So, calprotectin measurement, hard to do, hard to complete, but there are ways around it using very simple technology, clear communication channels, and where applicable, fail-safes in the form of postage stool samples. Thank you.